Here's the terminal. I want to take us through some quick commands, right? So we want to most of the commands we'll be using would be, let me open the text editor here so we can list them out. So we'll be using the cd command, we'll be using the pwd command, we'll be using the ls, who am I, and locate, find. We can be using cat and ps, yeah, for now. All right, so I'll take us through how to use each and every one of these commands quickly. All right, so okay, so here's my terminal. Ignore this here. Okay, let me just expand this. All right, make this bigger a little. So I'm pressing Control Shift and plus to increase this font here. You can see. So first command, cd. What's the cd command? Cd command means to change directory. So we use the cd command to move around, right? So before we start using it, there's something I want us to note about Linux, which is the Linux file system, right? So we have a base directory, which is this, right? So for example, I use my pwd command. Pwd is to print working directory, right? So it says that my working directory here is at home Kali, means that Kali is inside of home and home is inside this directory here, which is the base directory. All right, so let's go to this base directory to start with. So I can change directory here and I print my working directory. It says I'm here, right? So ls command, for example, is the list command. So what is it going to do? It is going to list each and every file, directory, or let's say the content of this directory. So list is to list the content of this directory, which I have done. We see we have bin, home, and all of this. All right, so we could navigate into each and every of this directory. For example, let me go into home. So note something quickly. So I tried to type home like this, right? It would not work. It will tell me no such file or directory, right? Because Linux is case sensitive. All right, so home here is spelled with the lowercase h. If I try to do it correctly now, it will work and say I'm in home. List the file here. I see Kali. So I want to quickly do something. I want to make a directory and I want to say Linux basics, right? Linux basics. So if I click enter here, it is going to create two files for me, two directories for me instead of just one, because I did not enclose this. You see, cannot create directory, permission denied. Yes, because I am trying to write into a directory that I don't have the privilege to. So let me see if I can use sudo to do that. So sudo make a directory Linux basics. Alright, let's see. Yes, change into Linux basics. So we see here that there's a space here, right? So in Linux, if you try to create a file and you put a space without this, it will create Linux and basics, right? But because I enclosed it here, that's why this, you can see this here. But now I want to change into there. I could do like this, just as I did it as first, and type basics. It will work, right? See, it worked. So let's go back. So if I do cd and two dots, it takes me one directory up, which is taking me away from here and it's putting me here. which I am presently. So I want to say change directory, and I say linc. So as soon as I start typing and I press tab, it auto completes for me, right? So I don't want to stress and type codes. I want to go here, I just type Linux or LIN or LI. There's no other file there, it's just going to complete it. And I'm here, I'm in my Linux basics, right? So I want to create a file. I would use touch as here, and say create what file do I want to create. So let me name it test file. Okay, I have done a little so I'll name it something else, example file, right? Example file. Cannot, let me just elevate my privileges as at once, so I don't keep using sudo all the time. So sudo means super user do, so I'm trying to just switch my user to the root, right? So if I click enter, see I'm root, I'm now logged in as root on my host name Kali. So here we see here our user is Kali and our host name for this computer is Kali as well. So I'm now root, I can do whatever I want to do. So I say I wanted to touch and create example file, right? So it worked, example file, right? And I want to check what kind of file is example file. For example, it's going to tell me that this is currently empty, so this is just a file, it is empty. So until there's a content inside the file, we wouldn't know what kind of file it is because it's just empty. What we know is the name, right? So let me try and put the content into it. I apologize for all of this that you see on my screen because this is my personal workstation that I use, and you just see me. What you see is what I've entered previously, my recently entered command using echo, right? So I was trying to put this into this file ash. So you see me do that now quickly. So I want to write hello world, for example, and I want to write it into example file. So what this is doing, echo in itself is just to, okay, let me show you something quickly. So if I say man echo, means I want to read the manual file for echo, right? So if I click on it and say enter, it's going to tell me what echo does. See, the name echo display a line of text, for example. It echo the string or strings to standard output. That is its function, right? So I could keep reading if I wanted to, like pressing down arrow key or the enter key, and I can stop reading or quit this by clicking on the Q key, right? So I want to use echo now and say echo hello world, for example, right? You see displayed back to my standard output. But now I don't want it to just display here, I want to redirect it. This is what this greater than sign is for. It redirects whatever string is here into wherever we want it to go. For example, we want to put it in example file. So example file, right? So list, I have example file. So cat, introduction to cat. Cat is a tool, is concatenate and is used to output the content of a file, for example, to the standard output. So it concatenates files and prints on the standard output, right? So that's what it is doing, for example. So I'll quit this, let me rush quit. And cat example file. So if I say cat example file, means I want to open this file and whatever is inside of it, I want to print it out here on the terminal. So let me reduce this font, it's becoming crowded, and then you see hello world, for example, right? So quickly we learned how to use touch to create a file. We created a file touch, we see that that file is here. We checked what kind of file it is, we saw that it is empty. So if we check what kind of file it is now, it tells us an ASCII text, right? So it's now an ASCII text file. So it could be example test, example file.txt, but because I didn't create it with an extension, but let me try and use the ls with this switch. So ls is listing, right? But when I use it with L, I'm trying to long list, for example. So let me use the manual to view what ls does. So ls lists directory contents, right? And with the L, first L, with the L, it uses a long listing format, right? There's something I want to show us quickly. This A, do not ignore entries starting with full stop. So I'll quit this and explain that. So when I say, we have to wait for the other person. So when I say ls and hell, so it shows me the permission of the file, the user, the group, the user is part of, the time and date, when it was created or last modified for, and the name of the file. So if I wanted to check if there were any hidden files, so that was what that dot was for. Okay, let me do it. So currently there are no hidden files, but what if I was to create an hidden file and say hidden file, right? Our touch command is to create files. So touch hidden file will create an hidden file that I won't see visibly here until I use this switch I see here, right? So that's that about ls, la, and we can combine it like this to give us a long list and also display hidden files, you see. So these are permissions that we have. I'll go over this permission quickly, but yeah, later on. I'll go over this later on. So what else are we looking at here? cd, pwd, ls. So I think we'll use cd here. Let me use who am I. So when I say who am I, I'm trying to find out who I am logged in as. I'm currently logged in as root here. So if I open a new tab and I say who am I, I'm currently logged in as Kali, you see. So it's telling me root here because I am logged in as root here, you see. So who am I? Locate. I'm trying to find Rocky. I don't know. I tried to find Rocky earlier on. So locate Rocky is going to search my entire computer, right, to look for this Rocky wherever it appears, right? So currently it appears in all of this. I can try to list how many this result is with my nl command, right? So if I locate this and I pipe and say nl, I want to list. So I have 27 results so far, right? About this, right? So I could look for something else, maybe locate password, whatever I'm looking for. Say password can be found 682 times on my computer, right? So now I can clear my screen with clear or Control L. So I can clear this, it will clear, and if I try to do that again to populate the screen and use Control L, it will also clear it. So that's that about this video. In the next video I'll continue all of this. I need to go quickly. Thank you guys for, I hope you enjoyed this.